I don't know, maybe in another year I'll remember.
But I did.
That's good. So, like always,
Yep.
you introduce the guest.
Yeah, well, we have Ken Pacheco, who probably everybody in the city of Fall River knows, right?
Yeah.
Well, at least
Some
Ken,
good and bad, I guess.
no, it's all been good lately, I'm sure, at least with the trash containers. So have you noticed, Ken, actually any decrease in the number of people calling you since these new trash bins, or?
Oh, definitely, definitely. Yeah, the trash bins are working out really well for a number of reasons, but mainly exactly what we thought they would do. They're cleaner. You know, the neighborhoods are much cleaner that have the bins. Recycling is up. We're not ready to quantify it yet, but we're noticing almost 100 ton a month of increase. It's a lot of recycling, but translation, that's 100 ton less going to the landfill, which is even more important, and saving the city quite a bit of money.
Okay. So would you say we're on par with other comparable communities or places like New Bedford doing the same thing? Do they have the same bins and stuff like that we do? Or?
I think they're going to.
Okay.
I think they're still using the 18-gallon containers that we had.
Okay.
And their trash is still regular barrels or bags.
Okay.
So I think we're ahead, of our
good.
sister city. I think we're comparable to some of the other cities that have taken it on. In fact, the city of Providence, from the same company, just did the exact same thing that we did. Much bigger city, but same situation. They needed to clean up the streets. They needed to come to some kind of order with their collections. And again, to try and increase recycling to save the environment.
Well, that's good. I mean,
It's
because
been-
it's good. I'm sorry.
Yes, that's okay. I mean, it's been a long 5 years, probably.
It's 2000. We started in the concept in 2008, 2009. Started getting these carts out there in the pilot program. So it's been a long time coming. But I can tell you that after living through it, I wouldn't have done it any other way.
Yes.
Because slow and steady wins the race, and it's exactly what we were able to do. We were able to do it in a very methodical way, so that we weren't in any way putting the cart before the horse, excuse the pun,
yeah.
but we did it in a way that we were able to handle it, because we had equipment issues, also. So this was an opportunity for us to try out some new methods, and it's worked out really well.
And can you give us quantities? How many
Sure.
containers out there?
We have 34,000 households that we service. Of the 34,000 households, obviously they vary in size and amount of containers each one has, but we're close to 56 to 60,000 containers on the street.
So that counting the two colors, right?
The two colors,
The
yes.
two colors. And about trucks, because I know the city had to purchase
Yes,
a lot of more
absolutely.
trucks.
We have 13 new collection trucks that are, we call semi-automated, which means that no longer do the people have to pick up the carts or pick up the trash. They roll them over to the truck, and then the truck does the dumping. And then we have 2 automated trucks, which means that no one leaves the truck. There's a mechanical arm on the truck, and it picks up the barrel and dumps it. So we use those in areas where we don't have parking problems or any other kind of obstructions, narrow streets, things like that. We use those, the Meridian Street area, Maplewood area,
On my street.
County Street,
Yeah.
we use them. There's a neighborhood in every day of the week that we can use those automated trucks. So we've got a few more trucks coming, another 3 of the semis, another 2 of the automated, and then we'll have a complete new fleet, which has saved us both in safety-wise. We had some tough years at DPW, so this is a complete turnaround in safety for us. No longer is anybody hanging on the back of a truck. Inside the truck where it's safe, or walking on the sidewalk,
Yes.
never in back of the truck, never in front of the truck, only on the sides. And it's so that's a huge change. So the equipment upgrade was definitely needed, but it's also made us much more productive.
Yes. And did you save any of those old trucks?
We have a couple hanging around.
Yes. Just for souvenir.
Well, souvenirs,
Come on.
but we're still waiting for the other ones to come through, so we still
Yes.
needed a couple
Yes.
of the older trucks, so we kept the better of what we had, and we've actually traded in a couple that were in pretty good shape, and the city was able to recoup some money. So I think all in all, we're doing really, really well.
So the idea is you won't keep any of the old ones?
My hope, what I'll always have to have one truck so that we can pick up the bulky items, because I can't fit mattresses in the new
Yes.
trucks or big couches and stuff like that.
Yes.
So we'll always have one truck that you have to load from the back, but it'll only be 2 people on the truck, so that person will always be sitting in the passenger seat. You know, they won't ride on the back of the truck.
About that, if people have items on the sidewalks.
Yes.
And they don't call the city, they were supposed to pick up a sticker to put
Yes.
on those items.
Yes.
Is that program still
It's
runs
still,
the same
it's
way?
still exactly the same way. 3 items for $10. Other than TVs. TVs, the pricing is a little different. But the bulky items are 3 for $10. They need to pick up a sticker either at the DPW office on Lewiston Street or at the DPW office in Government Center. And they pick it up. If they pick it up this week, it'll be picked up next week on the curb. They can always drop it off, too. They can go to DPW if they have a way of getting the stuff there and drop it off to us.
And Ken, going back to the trucks, when will you be online with the whole city? Is that by the end of December? Or?
With the exception of a few carts here and there, and sometimes they get missed. You know, people would say, everybody on the street got a cart but me. The reason is that some houses, for instance, like some of the 6 families, they have 2 addresses. So the computer system thinks that that's a mistake. So it kicks it out, but it kicks out both of them.
Okay.
So the carts don't get delivered to that house. So we do have a number of those things here, you know, around the city here and there. But with the exception of that, we're probably anywhere from 200 to 500 carts still to deliver, but everyone else has them. So we will be fully implemented the very latest by the end of this month.
Okay, good.
And truck-wise, we'll have everything by February, but it's not going to stop us from doing our stuff. So we're on schedule and we're where we want to be.
And about quantities, let me ask you this. How many barrels for 2 family and how many barrels for 6 family?
So a 6 family would get 3 green and 2 blue of the 95 gallon.
Okay.
A 2 family would get 195 of each.
Okay.
Single family is 164 of each. But what we're also doing, and again, out of requests from people, is we went down one size. So if there's someone who maybe is disabled and they're having trouble with the bigger carts and they live in a single-family house, this is only for single-family residents. We have a 35-gallon container, which is very small, but for some people, if they live alone,
Yes.
it's more than enough. So we're going to swap out. So all they need to do is call our office, and we'll get them a smaller container now that the entire city's rolled out.
Let me ask you this: how are you handling the houses, the apartments above the business? Pleasant Street, I noticed they left the containers right on the sidewalk because they could not bring it in.
Right. We
How
have
you-
to figure out. We have to figure out what's going to work best for those. I think it's going to be a combination of the landlord working with us.
Okay.
My eventual goal is I would like to do business trash every day. Business only.
Yes.
But it still doesn't help us with the downtown. It doesn't help us with Pleasant. It doesn't help us, on the South Main, down the South End. So we've got to figure out a way to make it work. Now that we have the equipment and we have the trucks,
Yes.
I think that we can work more individual with each individual and more on an individual basis.
I mean, I can see a problem there because these people live right above business, and the space between the buildings are so tight that can fit a barrel could fit.
Well, it's funny that you had said
And
that. I personally, I
it's-
thought that the businesses had to have dumpsters, because I know most condo associations, I lived in a condo years ago that we owned, and we didn't use the city service. You
Right.
had
Yes.
a dumpster, so I thought all the businesses
Now,
had that.
now I don't
No?
think that.
Well,
that's-
it was that
was
way at one
before,
point,
yeah.
and there are certain things that were grandfathered in. So some businesses were grandfathered, just as some condos were. The original condos, the bigger apartments we're grandfathered in. What we're asking businesses to do today is become part of our pink cart program, which is business recycling. Businesses were never required to recycle in the city. We're adding that now because we're looking for their recycling. You know, everything that they give us in recycling is less, again, that's going into the landfill. So we're going to try and work some kind of agreements, even with those businesses, condo associations that do have dumpsters. We'd like their recycling. So we're willing to provide them with containers for recycling for all of the people who we don't know necessarily pick up their trash from. And the smaller condos, the 3s, 4s, 5s, even 6s, if they've always been with us, we're going to continue to service them. But we're asking that they recycle now. And it's more of, you know, to help us help them kind of thing.
Yeah. It's so much that we have to talk to you.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have any...
Well, I just have one quick thing because I think the recycling is important, and I think Ken showed that it will work here. A lot of people, I think, and you know, because I'm preaching to the choir, said it wouldn't work here. It's not going to work in Fall River. It's worked in Worcester. It's worked, like you said, in Providence and Newport. It's going to work here.
Everything that's new never works in Fall River until we try it.
Exactly. But we know that the landfill eventually is going to close. So it's real important to get that recycling. But what do you see happening in a few years when we have to actually do that? Do you foresee that we might have to go to mandatory recycling, you think? Or do you see it going that we're going okay now, that we'll be fine?
I think that if people understand why we're doing this, I mean, we're doing it for all the reasons that we had said earlier. Clean streets. It eliminates, not completely, but it definitely takes care of the rodent problem to the point where it was really overtaking the city. So I think it does those two things. You know, the cleanliness piece, it's safe for my guys. But what it is it's trying to get us into a culture, changing our culture and the way we think about throwing everything away. We're a disposable society, so you know, we don't fix TVs anymore, we can throw them away. We don't fix this, everything gets thrown away. Well, we need to get people to understand that a lot of the items we use can be reused, you know, recycled. And if we can get them into that habit, then the blow that we're going to receive the day the landfill closes, because it's a financial turnaround of about $4 million. We lose host fees, we now pay more for our tipping fees, we don't get a recycling rebate. There's an awful lot that happens the day the landfill closes, and we know inevitably it's going to close. So this was one of the pieces that we needed to do in preparation for that. And hopefully, while people are learning this process, the landfill is still there, and we're able to reap the benefits of better recycling and lower rates. But it's going to be a time when we may have to do mandatory recycling, or we may have to go to some kind of pay-as-you-throw. But I think if we do a good enough job, we can avoid that, you know, as a city, and it would be a model for other communities to follow.
One of the things that are out there about trash is we'll come to a point that when we recycle more than we trash, that the city will get revenue for that trash. And that's a very important, you know, information out there. The more you recycle, the more the city will get back instead of paying off.
And it just reduces our costs. It really reduces our costs, because every ton of recycling that goes to a recycling facility or a reuse facility, right now we pay $56 a ton to get rid of our trash. Even if we paid $10 a ton to get rid of our recycling, we're still saving $46. So when we start making money, when the market is definitely always very volatile. The recycling market is very volatile. We've made as much as $22 a ton. So now that's a $77 turnaround, $78 turnaround. That's a lot of money. And if we've increased it by 100 ton a month, we're talking about some serious dollars that the city is saving. And at that point, it allows us to do other things, more sidewalk work, more paving of streets. It's a domino effect. We save on one end. It's not just so that we can sit and
Yes.
and not do anything. We want to be able to put that money back into the community. So if everyone's doing their job, we're going to be able to do more for the community.
And you know, just to go back to what you were saying about the recycled trucks, I didn't know that there were any that were that decent, because I know for a while that they would come pick up the trash and they'd put the lever down and the stuff would come all out because they were all rotted. You know, so it's amazing. I think just that part of it and the recycling. I don't actually see many things on the street anymore, like couches or anything. Very rarely do you see that. So I mean, it's a testament to what you guys are doing.
You will find them, like, you know, I have a case there on the Flints that people just put the trash, you know, on the side of the houses, and they never put out for pickup. So that sits there for 2 weeks. That's it. It's enough, you know, for the rats to come around and all of that. But so I don't know if you have more questions about the trash.
I just have one more, and I don't know if you mentioned this earlier, but what would you say? Do you have a guesstimate of how much is recycling rate? Do you have a?
We were about 11%.
Okay.
I'm going to guess that we have to be 13 to 15 right now.
Okay.
My goal is to hit 40. So we're going to be working on that. What we're also doing is for the first time, and we'll start, I think we'll have all the schools finished. We're going to be doing all the trash and recycling at the schools and reaping that benefit.
Good.
So it's tons of cardboard, a lot of paper. It's all the very good commodity pieces, your high-end pieces of your recycling. And the plastics will come also with that. But we're going to try and get the schools to really, really do a good job. And they're doing a great job now. But Betsy Westall, the city's recycling coordinator, we're going to try and insert an educational piece into her job. She's a teacher by trade. So Betsy's going to, we're working right now with the school department and hopefully trying to see where we fit into this. Kids have no trouble recycling. The adults have trouble, but the kids don't. So we're trying to get it so that they're our next generation. They're the ones that are going to have to live with whatever mess we leave them. And hopefully they're going to be conscious enough of the environment to allow us to keep this program, make it even better than what it is now. I'd like to hit that 40% soon, but I think we can do better than that. You know, I think that we can lead this state. I think we have everything in place to do it, and I think that there's enough forward-thinking people in Fall River to move this whole program to the next level. And what I think by leading the state is, I think there'll be further grants that'll come our way, both from the EPA and the DEP. I think that the opportunities, the funding opportunities will be there for us to try new and innovative ways to save energy. So I think, you know, Mayor Carrera had started the Free Initiative. Mayor Flanagan has stood with it and has worked very hard to try and keep that program going. And I think that that's where we should be headed. You know, that could be our signature piece. You know, that we're an extremely green community, welcome green businesses, you know, and build around that basic principle.
And so we can move to the next issue, is definitely until the end of the year, everybody will have.
Absolutely.
And the program starting January 1st will be running full speed.
Absolutely.
Very good. The next issue that I would like to bring to the table is parks.
Yes.
I know you belong to the committee too, so it will be a good point to ask you how we doing with the parks.
Doing very well. I'm a former park commissioner, and now I'm just a resource person to the park board. But the park department and cemetery are under the Department of Community Maintenance, so I do have an awful lot to do with the parks. And I have to say that we are embarking on a period of time, I think, that we're going to spend a lot of money in our parks, make a lot of improvements to the good. You know, we've started in Pulaski, the first playground we've installed in quite a few years. We are ready to, in fact, before the winter, I hope, unless it snows Wednesday, but before the winter, I hope to have Chew with a playground and Ruggles. And I guess the next park After that, we would be working on Kennedy. The new Highland Park area will be getting some improvements. We do have some other improvements in those parks that we're still working on. All the basketball courts in all of the parks are going to be redone, one by one. We're going to resurface them, work on the fencing, new basketball backboards, hoops, poles. We're going to put some lighting back in some of the parks, as long as the neighborhoods want them. You know, there are some neighborhoods where I think they're going to welcome it, and there are some when they're going to really feel that it's not a good idea. They'll all go on and off with timers. It won't be a case where, you know, the lights are going to be on till all hours. So we'll set the timers. There is a curfew, you know, in the city, and dusk is the curfew. So, but we do make that exception with baseball. So we'd probably follow the same rules by 10 o'clock, lights out, end of games and everything like that. But there are some exciting things going on in the parks. Obviously, if the Kennedy Park Inclusion Playground will take shape one way or another. That we still have the Boundless Playground that's planned for Bicentennial. We're hoping that that, you know, takes shape very shortly. We've got some improvements in Maplewood. We've got a couple of, we're going to be putting back some of the gazebo/shelters in Pulaski's, one of the parks that are getting that. Chew is getting one. And then we have Father Travasso, which is going to be an end-to-end renovation. We will be, hopefully, when we're finished with Britland Park and our new soccer field at Britland, we're going to be mimicking that at Travasso, redoing that field, putting in a playground, small little water play area, again, redoing basketball courts, trying to get every neighborhood with a nice area so the kids can walk to, you know.
Do you agree with me that the neighborhood groups is helping all these parks to be attend?
Oh, absolutely. I think that what the neighborhood groups bring is our eyes, ears to an area. I think they also allow us to have a better understanding of what people, I mean, what I like may not be what the neighborhoods want, and so forth. You know, I mean, we have our park commissioners, and they live in various areas of the city, but they may not necessarily know what the group wants. So it's nice when we have the neighborhood groups get involved and bring us ideas.
Yes. Every neighborhood have a different need
Sure.
of the park.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And, you know, my neighborhood is definitely different from your neighborhood. And Corky Road, it's another different neighborhood that
Exactly.
would have probably most kids or any other neighborhood. So
And Griffin is another park.
Exactly.
Griffin is another park that is on the design with Bicentennial. We've the DCR, Department of Conservation and Recreation, had a grant which the city was given 2 years ago, and we have plans for both Griffin and for Bicentennial. So I think that every park in the city is going to have some renovations. Some will be by the end of this year, some will be in the spring, and then we'll start all over again in July, you know, when we print new money down in the basement of Government Center.
That's what I was going to say. This all
You
costs
know,
money, right, Ken? This all costs money.
very good. And the last minutes we have.
Well, I just was going to ask, when you're talking about Maplewood Park, is the sidewalk, because I know a couple of years back they were talking about doing the sidewalk on Stafford Road. Is that part of that, and that
Yeah.
road, that access road?
The access road is in
Okay.
terrible shape. So the access road is on our radar screen, the sidewalks are on our radar screen. The playground at Maplewood, you know, needs work. Tennis courts are in good shape. So we do have, I mean, every park has needs, and what we're hoping to do is capitalize on some of these projects. Some of them we can piggyback on each other. You know, when we buy basketball hoops and things like that, and backboards, we're going to buy for all the parks. That's a nice purchase. We get better pricing and everything else. As far as the asphalt, there are going to be some groups that are going to be able to get some in-kind donations from their group.
Yeah.
There's going to be other groups where we're going to have contractors who are going to be willing to come in and do some work for us. And the one thing about Fall River, and everyone who's lived here all their life know, that we're a very generous community. Charity, you know, we may not have a lot, but
Yes.
everything we have, we give. You know,
Yes.
and I think that that's very important. So.
And before we leave, I want to ask you one final question.
Sure.
Winter 2012 is knocking on the door. Are the city ready
Absolutely.
for this winter?
Absolutely.
Plenty of money and
I've got a
salt?
T-shirt at home I've got a T-shirt that has a snow blower and it says "Bring it on." Bring it on.
So, but we
do.
We prepared.
We
already.
do. We had salt delivered today, and that'll continue for the rest of the week until we have our 2,000 tons in the salt shed, which will get us through a couple of storms, unless it's a real big one.
We're going to have the same year as last year.
Oh, that would be very nice. That would be very. I don't want to jinx myself, but that would be perfect.
That was I mean, we had some snow just to so we don't forget what it looks like.
Right.
That was the one
But
storm.
was a
That would be perfect.
Was a nice winter. I don't know if you have any
No, I think
final
that's it. You
questions.
answered all the questions. I can say, Ken, I don't know when he sleeps actually, though, right?
Exactly,
Between the parks
exactly,
and
you know.
public works.
Sleeping's overrated. It's can't get anything done when I'm sleeping.
You know, you don't get paid to sleep. That's why you never sleep.
There you go. Well, I want to thank you, Ken, because
Yes.
you do an excellent job here for the
My
city.
pleasure.
You know.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Ken, for our invitation. And 30 minutes just flied. Thank you, Ken.
You're welcome.
And we'll see each other next week.
Yep. Have a good night.
Have a good night.